Right, Matt Porter, as you heard, is with me. He's our Gadget Man, and he's reviewed and tried and tested all sorts of different things. And when he said to me, I'm going to just go and test drive a BMW, we don't normally do cars, but this is following on from your recent exploits into electric bikes,
yes,
and electric cars.
That's right, yes. I felt that it was appropriate to feature these kind of EVs or electric vehicles.
EVs, is that what they're called?
Yes, they're called EVs, yes. I felt it was appropriate because they are going to be the cars that we will be driving around with in the next sort of 20 or 30 years. They are a definite replacement for fossil fuel engine cars, and a few weeks ago I tried out a couple of Renault.
Well, there's an advert
vehicles.
for Renault on the telly at the moment, isn't there?
Yes.
And he just drives around. There's sort of chaos everywhere, and he serenely drives through and just parks in his garage and puts his car on charge.
That is actually the Renault Zoe, which is one of the ones that I tried out a few weeks ago. Last week, I was in the process of trying to organise having a demonstration of two BMWs, and BMWs have their own electric vehicle mark, if you like, which is called I. So BMW I, and to sell them, the dealership has to be a BMW i dealership, a bit like an M. There's M3s, M4s.
Right. Okay.
They have to be. It's kind
so they
of
have
like
to have special
certification or accreditation. Yeah. So very helpfully, Matt Dawson at Cooper Ipswich, he organised for me to have the use of a BMW i3. Last week for a couple of days. So they went to a great deal of trouble for me. He drove over to Norwich, picked up the i3, drove it back, had it cleaned, then let me have it for the day and overnight, took it back the next day, and then he drove me back over to Norwich, and I tried another vehicle, which I'll talk about next week.
Okay.
Now, the i3 is it's a lovely, lovely car, as I expected it to be, but it was very quiet because obviously there's no engine noise as such.
I was standing next to someone who drove a hybrid away the other night, and that just went...
Yes.
And that's weird. I mean, I can't... as a boy who grew up with internal combustion engines, that's just weird.
Well, interestingly enough, on the other car, they actually do play engine sounds into the cockpit when you're driving it. So, it's called an engine pack, which is part of the
so at least you get the feel.
Yeah, you get the feel of what you're driving. And I believe there's a couple of diesels that do the same, where they'll actually play a standard sort of traditional engine sound, a sort of engine pack. But this was electric, fully electric. This particular car had what's called the range extender pack, which actually is an additional 600cc generator that sits inside the car, not inside the car, but within the car. And if you can actually set it, though, it will maintain the charge of the battery. So rather than getting the standard 100 or so miles charge, you'll get a great deal more because it provides charge for the battery. So that was interesting, that I'd be sitting in traffic and all of a sudden I was aware that there was a noise of an engine running, which was basically the generator. But generally it was fully electric, and it was fully loaded with every conceivable gadget. It always amazes me that these electric cars have far more gadgetry in them than standard, and I always think if you're trying to keep the battery from discharging too quickly, surely you would reduce that.
Wind up windows and things you'd expect, wouldn't you?
But I'm led to believe that actually the case is that the electric motor takes so much electricity that everything else really doesn't make any difference whatsoever to the general running of the car. There's different modes such as Super Eco, all of those kind of things. The Super Eco mode, or Eco Plus, I think, it keeps your speed below 56 miles an hour, so you will get the furthest amount of range from the electric motor or the battery. As per most of these cars now, I think basically when you buy the car, they come and install a charging point at home. However, for me, because I had it overnight, it worked via a normal 13 amp socket. I just had it running through one of the little windows, tiny little windows at home, and I charged it overnight that way. But if you go through a standard charging point, it will charge it a whole lot quicker because it's 32 amps as opposed to 13. Driving it was as I expected, was superb. Very quick.
I'm just looking. You've given me the book here.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an electric car, and the performance of this, 0 to 62 miles per hour, 7.2 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's pretty sparky then.
It is, and it's got quite a fast top end as well in it. Yeah, it was very, very quick. It's so interesting driving there. If you're used to driving an automatic, even that doesn't prepare you, because you don't. In this car, most electric cars, you don't have any gears. It's direct drive from when you put your foot on the accelerator.
It's straight off, isn't it? Yeah.
So there's no delay or lack of power. So your torque or your power is consistent all the way through. It's quite amazing to behold when you're actually driving them. They are beautiful to drive, electric cars. Amazing, really. You know, it's taken quite a short amount of time from when we talked about before, the milk floats. People driving them out in milk floats, which were lead acid batteries. These are
okay. The concerns people would have: expense.
This car starts at $29,950, I believe. If you want to have the range extender pack, it's another £3,000 or £4,000 on top. You have different service packs attached to it as well. But I believe, from what I understand, the electric motors, because they have very little in the way of moving parts, they're very efficient and don't go wrong.
And I know our breakfast show, we were talking the other day about availability of charge points, and that's also what worries people, isn't it?
That was Peter Hurd, yes, I spoke to him. It's the charging points. There are a number around. They're growing all the time. There are websites out there which you can load up apps in your phone, and it will show you where all the charging points are. The Zoe actually showed you on its screen where the nearest one was. I believe you can do similar with this. You can do fast charge. 30 minutes fast charge will give you 80% charge anyway. So, yes, I would not expect thousands of charge points to appear overnight, because if you
go down the electric car route, then this or any other, you're going to be a bit of a pioneer.
You are. Waitrose, I believe, without giving them too much of an advert, Waitrose provide free charging points at their stores. So if you had an electric car, you could go there and go and
top up for free.
For free, yeah. Half an hour charge or whatever, which should give you 80% charge, and you could go and have a cup of tea, or you could go for a walk or whatever, have a look around the John Lewis, whatever you wanted to do, and charge your car up for free, assuming no one's actually hijacked the space, which is a common problem.
Okay.
Stations generally have them. They're springing up all the time, so it's just a matter of keeping an eye. Obviously, it's supply and demand. As the cars start, appearing to be more available.
It's going to take a while before they get down to your average driver, though, isn't it? Like everything, it will eventually filter down. Yeah. But it's going to be a while before that happens.
This has got the generator. The range extender pack is a great idea, because it takes away that fear that you might run out of charge. It means that you can switch that on and use a little bit of petrol up to get you to where you want to get to. So that kind of ticks a box. It's also zero tax. There's lots of you can drive it around London without paying congestion charge. I believe on company cars as well, you can get massive rebates as a company car having an electric car, because again, it's the government's trying to encourage the use of non-polluting vehicles.
So there we are, the BMW i3. You give it the thumbs up.
I do. Yep. I would like to quickly say thank you to Matt Dawson at Cooper BMW in Ipswich, because he made a great deal of effort in order for me to have it overnight.
Have you done your write-up yet?
No, that will be done in the next week.
Okay.
And there's another one that I want to talk about next week as well. That will go on as well. So
thegadgetman.org.uk.
Yes, there's information about other electric cars that I've driven on there. So, thegadgetman.org.uk is the place to go.
Great stuff. Matt, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week, same time, of course.